Congress passes a continuing resolution to prevent a government shutdown, extending the deadline to early 2022 to make budget decisions and freeing the calendar for other critical bills before the end of the year. Meanwhile, a familiar face, Jessica Rosenwortzel, is officially the new chair of the Federal Communications Commission, and pushback from congressional Democrats grows to further delay the resumption of student loan payments in February. Finally, school safety is in the spotlight again in the wake of yet another tragic school shooting. Hi, I'm Anne Heislip, and I'm joined today by my colleague Ziyu Zhou. Ziyu, what's the latest from Capitol Hill?
Thanks. Last week, Congress passed a second continuing resolution to keep the government funded until February 18, 2022. This means there won't be any increases in government funding until, at the earliest, 1/3 of the way through the fiscal year. However, it gives Congress the room to tackle other monumental issues before the end of 2021. As we mentioned in the last federal flash, the Build Back Better Act is sitting in the Senate after House Democrats passed the legislation last month. The Senate parliamentarian is now reviewing the bill to ensure it meets the technical requirements of budget reconciliation, which only requires a majority vote. Optimists hope it will move before the December holidays, but only time will tell. Meanwhile, the House and Senate passed a workaround measure that will allow Democrats to raise the nation's debt ceiling without any Republican votes. With the support of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, this one-time break in the filibuster rules garnered enough Republican support to pass. Now, Democrats in both chambers will take a separate vote to raise the debt limit and avert an economic catastrophe.
In happier news from Capitol Hill, the Senate confirmed Jessica Rosenwortzel as the new chair of the Federal Communications Commission. As our president and CEO Deb Delisle said, quote, Chair Rosenwortzel is a true champion for closing the homework gap, a term she coined, and ensuring that the nearly 17 million children without home internet service don't fall behind their more affluent classmates in school, end quote. Rosenwortzel, who has served as a commissioner since 2012, will be the first woman in this leadership role. Another FCC nominee, Gigi Sohn, faces steep opposition from Republican senators over past posts on her personal Twitter account. Senator Ted Cruz even brought posters featuring her tweets to her confirmation hearing. Despite these hurdles, Democrats could still clear the nomination if their caucus remains united. Until her nomination is confirmed, the FCC is left with 2 Republican-appointed commissioners and 2 appointed by Democrats. The FCC is tasked with moving President Biden's broadband agenda forward. To close the digital divide and determine how to best use the $42 billion provided in the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the commissioners must first identify broadband dead zones around the country. However, the FCC's current maps underestimate need. For example, in one Mississippi county, the estimates are off by 80%. This could drastically delay getting households connected to high-speed internet. We'll keep you posted.
With the emergence of the Omicron variant, the administration is also encouraging parents to vaccinate their children against COVID-19. First Lady Jill Biden has been on the road promoting the vaccine as the best way to protect children against the virus. According to CDC data, over 4 million 5 to 11-year-olds and 15 million adolescents have already received at least 1 dose of the vaccine. Further, the FDA just approved booster shots for 16 and 17-year-olds. The CDC is expected to release new school guidance in the coming weeks.
Switching gears, Federal Student Aid Chief Richard Cordray urged states to make completion of the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, a requirement for high school graduation. FAFSA completion rates have dropped dramatically during the pandemic, with more than 250,000 fewer forms completed. According to Cordray, early FAFSA data this year show that the trend is continuing. In addition, college enrollment overall is down, especially for low-income students, Black and Native American students, and for the first time in years, Latinx students. 7 states already require FAFSA completion for high school graduation. and the department is developing a toolkit for states interested in adopting the approach.
Speaking of student aid, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and Representative Ayanna Pressley sent a letter to President Biden urging him to extend the pause on student loan payments, interest, and collections until employment rebounds to pre-pandemic levels. The letter also encourages President Biden to consider canceling up to $50,000 in student debt for all borrowers. In addition, Senators Raphael Warnock and Ron Wyden led a dozen Democratic senators in penning their own letter to the administration, recommending that interest rates remain at 0% even if payments resume on February the 1st. Advocacy groups are also putting pressure on the White House as a recent survey found that most borrowers, even those who are fully employed, are not financially secure enough to be prepared for payments to resume. Since the burden of student debt disproportionately affects Black and Latinx households, advocates fear the pending restart of loan payments would have a detrimental effect on the communities most affected by the pandemic. We'll keep you updated on any changes.
Finally, November ended tragically with a deadly school shooting at Oxford High School outside Detroit, Michigan. A 15-year-old student killed 4 classmates and wounded 6 other students and a teacher in the deadliest school shooting since May 2018. All4Ed supports every student and American across the country, fighting for common sense measures to keep our nation's school children safe. Yet, once again, local, state, and federal leaders are struggling to take action to protect students from guns in schools. Let's hear from Michigan State Senator Mallory McMorrow as she argued for stricter gun laws.
This is the only country in the world where this regularly happens. We are killing each other. Children are killing children. We live in a country where there are more guns than people. And anytime anyone brings up any ideas to help stop gun violence and put safety measures in place, we hear outcries of freedom. We hear that it is a right, that it shall not be infringed. But what about the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Why are children's lives worth less than guns?
Why are children's lives worth less than guns? Indeed. Let's leave it at that. For an alert when the next federal flash is available, sign up on our website at all4ed.org/flash signup. Thanks for watching.
Federal Flash is All4Ed's series on important developments in education policy in Washington, D.C. Watch online at all4ed.org/federal-flash. That's all4ed.org/federal-flash. Or subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also listen to Federal Flash wherever you get your podcasts.